On July 12, 2025, Etihad Airways issued an urgent safety directive to all pilots operating the Boeing 787 Dreamliner. The warning followed a chilling revelation in the preliminary crash report of Air India flight AI171. The report uncovered a potentially fatal issue involving the fuel control switches on the Dreamliner's flight deck, an issue that may have led to the deaths of over 260 people. As the aviation world reels from the findings, airlines across the globe are now taking serious precautionary measures. This video investigates the tragic events surrounding AI171, the mechanical flaw at the center of the controversy, Etihad's swift response, and what it all means for airline safety going forward. The AI171 crash. What happened? On June 12, 2025, Air India flight AI171, a Boeing 787-8 Dreamliner, took off from Ahmedabad on a routine flight. Within seconds of liftoff, disaster struck. The aircraft climbed to approximately 180 knots when both of its engine fuel control switches were suddenly moved from the run to the cutoff position just 1 second apart. This resulted in an immediate dual-engine shutdown. The aircraft plunged back to the ground and crashed, killing all 241 people on board and 19 on the ground. According to the Aircraft Accident Investigation Bureau AAIB of India, cockpit voice recorders captured the final, frantic moments. One pilot asked, "Why did you cut off the fuel?" To which the other responded, "I didn't." The quick succession and timing of the shutdowns strongly suggested that the switches were not intentionally moved by the pilots. Investigators began to suspect a mechanical or inadvertent activation of the fuel cutoff controls. Mechanical flaws in the fuel switch design. Boeing 787 Dreamliners, like many modern aircraft, use fuel control switches mounted on the center pedestal near the throttle levers. These switches are designed with a protective locking mechanism that must be lifted before the switch can be moved to prevent accidental activation. However, a key finding in the investigation traced back to a 2018 FAA safety alert for operators SAFO. The alert warned that some fuel control switch modules had faulty locking mechanisms, allowing the switch to move freely without lifting the guard. This problem had been observed in multiple aircraft models, including the 737 and the 787. Although the FAA issued the advisory in 2018, it was classified as non-mandatory. That meant compliance was not enforced by regulation. The AAIB report noted that Air India never performed the advised inspections on the switch locking mechanism. However, investigators have not yet confirmed whether a mechanical fault or crew action caused the switches to move in AI171's case. Still, the possibility alone was enough to raise immediate concern. Etihad's prompt response to the safety alert. In response to the findings from the AI171 crash, Etihad Airways issued an internal safety bulletin to all pilots operating its Boeing 787 fleet. The message was clear: exercise extreme caution when operating near the aircraft's fuel control switches. Etihad's safety team reminded pilots not to place objects such as iPads, charts, or water bottles on or near the center pedestal, where the fuel switches are located. In addition to pilot awareness, Etihad's engineering department issued an urgent technical directive to inspect the locking gates on all Boeing 787s in its fleet. Engineers were instructed to manually test each switch. If a switch could be moved without lifting the lock gate, the aircraft was grounded until the switch assembly, known as the Thrust Control Module TCM, was replaced. The airline reported that one 787 on a flight from Abu Dhabi to Hyderabad returned to its departure airport as a precaution, although no mechanical issues were found on inspection. Global regulatory reaction and industry-wide alerts. Etihad's proactive measures quickly sparked similar responses across the aviation sector. India's Directorate General of Civil Aviation DGCA issued its own advisory requiring Indian operators of Boeing aircraft to inspect their fuel switch mechanisms within 7 days. Other regulators, including those in the UAE, Singapore, and South Korea, issued parallel mandates. This unprecedented coordination between international aviation bodies underscores how seriously the industry is taking the AI-171 crash investigation. Focus on pilot training and human factors. Etihad's pilot bulletin also emphasized human factors, encouraging crews to adopt stricter sterile cockpit procedures. Placing foreign objects near sensitive flight controls is now being actively discouraged, even during non-critical phases of flight. Additionally, simulator training scenarios are being updated to simulate mid-takeoff engine shutdowns and reinforce correct crew coordination responses. Etihad's leadership believes that increasing awareness and procedural discipline around the fuel control switches is essential, not just for its own fleet, but across all 787 operators. Similar messages are being echoed by other carriers and safety authorities. Etihad's decisive action in warning pilots, inspecting aircraft, and reinforcing cockpit procedures is a textbook example of proactive safety culture. And while no airline can reverse the tragedy of AI-171, taking bold, immediate steps could prevent the next one. If you found this video informative, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Stay tuned for our next report, where we examine how Boeing is responding to the global scrutiny and whether a full safety recall could be on the horizon.